Right, let me share my video. It's easier. Oops, start my video. Yeah, so this is SIG Automation on the 22nd of November. So from an, we don't have any explicit topics on the agenda, I saw. So I'm assuming we should go through the board, Bala, right? And get latest status.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask though, maybe if people could have a look at the PRs that's up on the PRs that's up on the it's up on GitHub, and maybe comment on them. It should be helpful, especially the ones around the unit test and that. I know you have some stuff coming, Vim, but
yeah, I'll do it this week, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not off next week, tomorrow and the day off, but I had some backlog from my travel that I had to go through first. So
that's fine.
I'll do it this week for sure. Yeah. But so let's see. I mean, let's explicitly call them out. If you need attention, then I can maybe prioritize. But let's go through the board, right? So we go to R2.
I'm gonna put the chart. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Yeah, it's here. So put the link in the chat, Ben.
Okay.
So essentially, I think probably you can open the board and we can discuss.
Yeah.
Those two PRs, 56 and 57, I think we need to we can start with that. Yeah. I think last time we spoke, Wim, I think Sagar and Joseph were saying a lot of work will depend on those two things, where both OAI, RAN core, and also the free 5GC. So probably we can take it from there. I don't know whether we have Sagar, Joseph on the call today. Obviously you are there. I mean, they wanted to talk to you. So
I had a call with them on Monday, by the way. So we discussed this on Monday. So here is what we are proposing, and I think in the meantime, so here is what we are proposing. So maybe it's a good discussion anyhow. So the problem that we had was that, so when we started this discussion, right, what we saw is we had on one hand one big CRD. So we had when we started, we had a CRD for RAN, and then we had a CRD for AMF, right? And they were big, right? Big. So the challenge was that every time, so we were sure that we are going to have to do changes, okay? So as a result of it, the consequence is that if we went to that approach, and that was my main comment, we had to bump up the version of every release. Every time we did a change, we had to version V1 Alpha 1 to V1 Alpha 2 and stuff like that. And I don't think, in general, this is a good approach, right? So what I proposed is that instead, so the first thing that I proposed was to cut down the CRD in basically manageable items. So we started to work on PLMN ID, and I think we had a pretty good handle on it. The only problem is that we had an impact on NF deployment, and because of the timeline, we decided not to do that change, right? So that we could contain it. So, but we had kind of a good handle on PLMN ID. There was another one that we had a pretty good handle on. And then, but the RAN was basically remained a big one so far. So I asked to cut it, but long story short is that the challenge, so that's one issue. The second issue is that, okay, how do we get that to the NF deployment and build a framework that which we easily get extendable, right? Or we can extend stuff, okay? So on the first one, as you know, we did in release 1, we did this config reference. So we had an ability to take in a configuration snippet from another network function that was deployed, and we were able to convey that to another network function, right? And the nice thing about that approach, in my view, was that it was built in such a way that any configuration that other NF had, we didn't want, we were agnostic to the content, right? So I think that's a good, it's a good capability to have in general, as such, right? So, and for that reason, we now decided to actually, beside for a config reference, to have a similar thing for configuration snippets that belong to the same element. So we had then some conversation, why don't we reuse the config ref, and why do we add a new one? And my view on that was, it's never a good thing to try to do two different things in the same element. And so as a result, the proposal right now is to split, so to have basically two CRDs that are going to be added in. So one we already have, which is the config.ref.nefio.org. And there will be a second one, which we'll call config.workload.nefio.org. So this is basically so the difference between the two is, one is a configuration that is referenced, so that's a configuration from another network function, and the other one is a configuration meant, or configuration snippets meant for that particular network function, right? So we have basically two. Then, so that gives us an ability to add configuration towards a network function in a generic way without understanding what that content basically is, right? So then the question is then, what do we do with these, the thing that I was talking about in the beginning, right? This AMF and this PLMN ID and stuff like that. So what you saw that we were doing, what we were doing at the end of the day, we were trying to redefine what 3GPP was kind of doing, right? But we were just putting it in another vehicle. And I think we as a team are not set up to do that, right? Because it means that every parameter that 3GPP defines, we somehow have to map towards a CRD. And so we will be busy defining those APIs and what have you. And I'm not sure that this is a good use of our time, nor do we have potentially the full expertise on that, right? So what I propose that we do for R2 is that we take the snippets that we have right now, but don't put them in core, put them in the experimental API repo, right? But they are not going to be, so they are only visible at the network function level and in our packages, right? But my goal, the idea is, rather than taking these things that we were doing for R2, right? So where we have this config snippet with PLMN IDs, we would go for an approach that we take the standard 3GPP models going forward. So we just take in the 3GPP YANG files, which can, so the container that we have right now, we can use to actually transport that towards the lower level, right? And then we need to basically have something at the end that basically can consume that configuration and translate it to the specific device that is consuming that. And that's the proposal that we that's what we try to converge upon, where we converge upon between Sagar and Joseph. And so so it might be good to have some feedback in the meeting here with respect to that. So that does not mean, by the way, that we need to do netconf and stuff like that. We just need to basically translate, have a way to mediate the configuration towards the lower level. Yeah, Tal, you had a question, or you have?
I agree with the basic thrust of what you said. I think if we end up, say, wanting to follow 3GPP with all its versions and create basically the Kubernetes translation of 3GPP, that is beyond our ability and scope. We're not a standards body. We're not, that, as you said, it will just be a lot of work to constantly trace that, test that, for completion, for accuracy, for all those things. I don't think we really want to go that way. I think you're right that what we need is just a mechanism, and and not just for Yang or 3GPP, right?
Yeah.
Any kind of configurations, if we have a way to make them flow over, and you said netconf might be not in our scope right now, but maybe both you and I have ideas, and Alexei also worked on this too, on mechanisms that we could potentially pass in Yang bundles of some sort, and get them on the workload cluster to actually talk to devices, whether it's our own network functions or what I call adjacent PNFs, if you need to configure a top of the rack switch or something as part of your workload, right? So the possibility is there. We just need a transfer mechanism. And I'm with you that I think what we did in R1 is, I'd like to tweak it in various ways, but that's basically it. We create an open container of some sort. I don't mean a Linux container. I mean a kind of definition container where we can put in arbitrary values. It would be nice to have some way to validate these values, right? So there's, again, I proposed in the past that we just use a kept function or similar to create validation logic. But that would be, again, kind of vendor specific or use case specific, right? Because creating something generic for 3GPP is a little terrifying for me. So again, how we manage these containers, I think it's an ongoing discussions. We can improve it per release of Nefio, right? We have the R1 version. You've made great proposals that we can do for R2 to improve it a little bit. Like what you said right now, dividing it between the workloads, a different API. The meta model, again, is what's important to me, that we have a way to define these kind of containers of properties that we can bundle them and just pass them through. But I think from Nefio's perspective, that it should be transparent, again, with a mechanism to allow for validation if you want to, but I do think we should not try to enforce standards. I think that kind of work will never end.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of what we did, I think, Tal, but of course, we need to look at the proposal, right? Because Sagar is going to I think so what he did, Bala, he basically, so he killed 57, and I think he is going to make a new one. Okay, I don't know, yeah, it's just a way to do it. But so the PR that will be there is basically the vehicle to give that transparent container, if you will, Tal, right? That's basically what he is going to add in a PR, in a new PR. I don't know whether he already did. We had some chatting about it. Okay, Bala, but yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think maybe I may ask some silly questions. That's okay. So you said something about moving to experimental, API experimental. Yeah. What was that?
So today, of course, so there is two pieces to this, right? So one is the piece, the vehicle to give that container and that flexibility to be agnostic to the data model, if you will, as a vehicle to convey that configuration to the network function. So that will be in the core. So that will be one PR. The part of experimental is, we need to do something in R2, right? To give these configuration snippets. And what Joseph and Sagar proposed is basically, let's use what we have, right, for R2, and then consume that. And I basically propose, okay, let's not put that in core, but let's put it into the experimental repo, where they can then consume those APIs for their respective network function. And then going forward, we will have to move that towards a more generic, I like the 3GPP data models and stuff like that, rather than the specifics.
Yeah, but the thing is, if it is in the experimental, it's not going to be part of the release, right?
Yes, but
from the whole release perspective, anything in the experimental is totally disregarded from the release build perspective.
Yes, but for example, so the core elements of OAI are also not in the Nefio repo, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So there is as such, they have a way to have it checked in. It's part of Nefio, but it's not in the core, because otherwise,
we are gonna point to that particular GitHub.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And it's So for me, it's a vehicle to basically say, okay, we are working on something, but it's not what we really want, right? So, but we deliver something. So we have a delivery vehicle. So that's why I proposed to do it that way. Because otherwise, if you put it into the core repo, right, this API is perceived as holy grail.
Well,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be, does it?
No,
yeah, I mean,
no,
I'm
but
just,
yeah,
I understand what you're saying, Wim, but at the same time, nephew experimental was not meant for this kind of use cases. In my view, it was more for POCs, use cases,
sure, yeah.
experiments, right? So, I mean, we clearly say that in that repo as part of wiki. Yeah, I mean, we could, yeah, because if we move to in the core, if we go there, then we are going to follow the same conventions of the release, but we are going to obsolete the API as soon as it's released when the R3 comes out. I think that is your concept thing.
That's the reason why I didn't want to do it. I proposed not to do so, but I thought it was
we are doing it for R1. We are doing the same thing for R1 as well now at this point of time, because I don't think R1 is compatible. The APIs are compatible with R2, right?
Yes, but we didn't do the big change, right? So if you look to the change that we did in R2, is actually okay. It was backward incompatible change, but it was not. We didn't change the fundamental principle, right? This API will be obsolete, so they will not be consumed in R3 at all.
Yeah, I'm yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if there is a better way to do it, I'm fine for it. But I thought this was a good way. But if there is a better way to do it, that's okay. But because we have other pieces that are not in the main core repo that are consumed at the moment.
yes,
There's many of them.
OAI core is at this point of time is considered as a third-party function. So it's actually we wanted to do it as even as a certain example, right? It's a message to the vendors, right? Yeah, you can have your functions, you can have it in your Git repo, but nephew will be able to consume it. It's meant to be that kind of an example. But here, what we are talking about is an API. So consuming an API from a different repo, I'm not sure. That's where I am on the fence. On one hand, I'm thinking even if you can make it a part of code, we can say that with a disclaimer. This is an ongoing change, and this may not be supported in the next subsequent releases. We could say that and take a call when the R3 comes. I think since you said it's an API, I'm thinking because all the API changes, Sagar is checking into our API repo anyway. Only the operator changes, he's doing it in the OAI repo. So
Joseph has his hand raised. Maybe let's see what he says.
Yeah, so I think in that case, I think we can still keep the vehicle that you mentioned, right? The new config. I think that part is still valid. I think that can be kept and that will remain towards R3 also. So that should be okay. But I think this is the more the other part we're trying to commit to. Nephew experimental is more of the NF configuration. So that I think if that is not finalized, even if putting in experimental is not very it's not the right way to do, then I think we can keep it vendor specific, right? So we still use the new config, but it would just be vendor configuration, right? We can still keep it as part of the package, right?
But where would you put the API, Joseph?
Yeah, for I think those structures for decoding, I think we keep it internal to the code, to the operator.
Yeah, that means just saying that it's gonna stay in the OAI repo.
It's going to be in core. It's going to be in the core OAI repo in that case, right?
Yeah, it will be in the OAI repo and also in the OAI repo, the controller code. Yeah. So the structures for decoding them will be there.
But
Yeah,
that's the question. Where do we put it, Bala? Is the conversation? It's not how, it's
Yeah.
where.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
where,
exactly.
right. So
Yes,
if we want to put it in
absolutely.
experimental or put it in the OAI repo, considering it as vendor specific. Yeah, I think that's the.
Yeah, my
But
personal.
because just to be clear, because for the run it's only OAI, but for the core it will be consumed by both Free5GC as well as OAI, right?
Actually,
where are
if
you
you
going to
make
put-
it vendor specific, I think we still do it only for OAI. Maybe Free5GC still uses the old mechanism. It would still work. Right? If you're not
Yes.
discontinuing what was there earlier, so the R1 Free5GC still works. You don't have to make any change. But the OAI core can use this new config. And as and when we have new mechanisms, we can bring it in for the Free5GC. That's also an option.
Yeah, that's also an option. Yeah, that's correct. The only thing then is that for Free5GC will not be able to have, let's say, dynamic parameters, right? That the parameters will be static, like we have in R1.
Yeah, so there'll be no change for Free5GC. It will be same as
There
R1.
will be they're hard coded in this case.
Yeah.
So that's the other
Yeah.
alternative, Bala.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I actually, yeah, I mean, that may be a good solution as well, like what Joseph is saying. I also want to understand, yeah, experimental Vim. I completely understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate and acknowledge that also, but I'm slightly skeptical about putting there because of what it's meant to be. But please don't get me wrong there on that.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
And what I also want to figure out what it all means for the release. December 15th is our, we wanted to do the code freeze end of this month, and then last 2 weeks for integration testing. Do you, one thing, Wim, we need to figure out is whether we are still marching towards that, or if it is not the case, then we need to go tell the TSC on that.
Yeah, should we go through the board for that? Through the whole thing, then we can probably have a better judgment, I guess.
I think so. Yeah, I think we can do that. I think even the board, right? These are the topics mostly, because I don't see Stephen here. He's. I think he said topology controller. All the release process related item we are on track. Stephen is not here, and then most of the work will be related to this only. Actually, even if you go through the board.
Yeah, no, it's this, and I think Ronak. Where are we with the changes on the Free5GC? Are they done? Is Ronak on the call? So these are the two, I think.
Yes, actually, Vamsi has committed one call just day before yesterday. Whichever the comments we received from Stephen, and currently we are doing functional testing of that code.
Okay. Because and then Bala, so it's this. Those two are important, I think. Are the two that, and so then the question is, who is going to do the integration testing?
Yeah, it is. We there is one story to create an infrastructure for integration testing. I think Victor and Rada were taking a look at that to create just an infrastructure for the topology for this OAI end-to-end testing that was created. I think there is an issue on that, but actual end-to-end testing itself, probably we may need a little bit more help from Joseph and Sagar in terms of I think Sagar said that he's gonna work with Victor on this one.
Okay, because I think it's important to have someone lead it somehow, right? To say, okay, this is the person that's going to pull it together at the end of the day, and of course, he needs help from the other people to. But otherwise,
I brought it up in the last meeting, and then Sagar said he's gonna work with Victor.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Victor. Most likely Victor will lead this. I think that's what I told. I think requested Victor. I think Victor will lead this, and then probably Sagar will.
Okay.
I don't know whether Victor
is not on the call.
I
don't see him.
Today, this week is not a good week for the US.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's not there, I think.
yeah, I think that is that. Yeah, that is one thing we need to figure out, Wim, probably by next week's call. We may need to give one kind of the news one way or the other to the TSC, whether where we are on this one.
Yeah, because it's going to be stretchy, right? In my view.
Gonna be
You
really
look to
strict.
all.
So yes. So one other thing I wanted to understand from Joseph and you, Wim, is if we do what Joseph is suggesting, if we make those things vendor specific, and Joseph mentioned that we do not need any changes to FreeFireGC. So I just wanted to understand that we obviously we are making some changes to FreeFireGC with some abstraction normalization that we did. So are we saying that we need to go back to R1 FreeFireGC, or are we saying
No,
that
no. The changes that we did for Free 5GC. So the first, so we had basically two changes, right? One is a change. So I think we changed some names and stuff like that, and to make the injection more dynamic. So there is the change that Akash did for in the specialization, right?
Yeah.
So the specialization piece is done, right? So there is a derivative in Free 5GC that Ronak and Vimal is working on, that they are going hand in hand, right? And so every ISO, the run, ISO both the Sagar and Joseph need that, but I think you accommodated that change already, Joseph. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah,
Now,
the
yeah.
NF deployment change are that.
Yeah. So if you only do that, Bala, what you get is basically the same as what we had in R1, right? But you will also have the radio, and you'll have the core, right? The thing that we are discussing is we had an item to make. So in R1, a lot of the parameters were statically assigned, right? So, for example, the DNS name, a number of IP addresses were hard-coded. So there was a bunch of stuff that was basically hard-coded in the network function configuration when they derived the config map. And we wanted to have a mechanism to make the dynamic, right? So that's the thing that we are talking about, using this config blob or container and the respective CRs to do so. That's the change that we are talking about. So if Free5GC does not do it, that means that those parameters will be hard-coded, will remain hard-coded.
Okay. Okay, got it. So yeah, thank you. So that also, in a way, that's gonna help the release date, in a way.
Yes. Now, what we have to do, if we change the topology, we have to see whether these parameters still hold.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know all the details. We need to look to the code. There is a number of parameters. So if we change the topology of the lab, right, we have to ensure that the hard-coded parameters that were used can still remain the same. I don't believe it's going to be a big deal in my view, but we need to provide some consistency, if you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. So if that helps, Wim, what we discussed was we're not gonna change the existing topology for Free5GC. We're gonna keep it.
Okay.
We're gonna create a new one for where.
And they are going, they coexist. So there is two separate ones. Okay.
Two separate
Okay,
ones.
I see. Okay, in that case, it's not a problem. Yeah, because then Free5GC will work one way, and then OAI will work the other way, and then we will have some flexibility in OAI, but not in Free5GC.
Yeah, I think we can put that as a known issue in the release note, and then we'll say that in the subsequent release we'll normalize it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's also a way to do it. Yeah. But that means that we need more infrastructure for integration testing every time we do a check-in, right?
Yes. Yes. True.
I mean, it's probably not sustainable on the long run, but for R2.
Yeah, I think so. I raised this, and then Rado said, yeah, it may not be an issue for us at this point of time.
Yeah, but okay, this environment, the spin up will take an hour or something. It's 40 minutes or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So we have to do it twice. Huh? We have to do it twice.
Guys, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think too bad Rado is not on this call. Probably
we
next
can
week.
discuss maybe on Monday. We can discuss on Monday, maybe in the release meeting, right? So let's discuss it there. But I think for now, let's use that as the plan because that's probably the least risky, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Wim and Joseph. Yeah. Cool. So from the board perspective, I mean, we can go through it. I mean, what do you think, Wim? I think these are the main topics essentially.
Yeah. No,
everything
correct.
else, because then the other topic is the topology stuff that I think Stephen said he's working on that. I think PRs are out. Anyway, Stephen is out this week. So
the package, so this one is a result of that, right? So that's fine. Reducing of hard coding parameters, so that's also the same, right?
yes, I think so. Yes.
NF topology controller, that's Stephen, right?
Yeah.
Helm integration, POC, what is that?
Yeah,
That's
the rest of them are
Pieter. Okay. Create designer for multi-vendor infrastructure requirements. Okay, so I can, so basically what we are discussing, I'll document. I started a document, I started some slides, but I will add what we discussed in the year. That should cover this one, I hope. Then Nephew SDK. Okay, so that's a POC, right? Then OAI simulator cap package, that's related to the same thing. Okay. Deployment KRM function, yeah, that's the same, right? Run NF custom controller, yeah, that's Joseph, I think. Set up experimental repo wiki, so that's Tal. Was this not done, Tal?
I think that is done, I believe, right, Tal?
Yeah, it's done. Sorry, I did not update it. It is done.
Should we share the screen?
Oh, Wim, I think you're not sharing the screen.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, it's hard to
bad.
follow.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing, but I'm not. Okay, and now it should be better. Right? You see my screen?
Yeah, you can go ahead and close.
I moved it actually. I took care of it. Yeah.
I moved it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Then define run CRD, so that we just discussed. Have your experimental repo setup. We can also move, right?
And that one actually there is one last item pending. Move archived repos from main Nephew repo to experimental repo. Tal, do you think we are going to do something on that one? Are we going to do anything there? If you see the last item.
Are we still there, Tal? Did we lose Tal?
I think Tal
we
maybe
lost.
has issues. Yeah, we may have lost. Yeah, I think
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think we can do it now. We just need to decide together which repos exactly, and I will do the transfer. So we can go over our Nephew project group and just say list here which repos to move, and I will move them.
Do you want to do it now, or let's do it?
Sure.
Let's first go through the board, and then we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure thing. Yeah.
And then, okay, just to go through the board, right? Integrated. So this is also related, right? Core end-to-end call. So that's related.
That's the one. Yes.
Topology deployment, break one-to-one. This we will probably not do, right?
Well, I'm doing. I'll have a design document on that in the R2 timeframe.
Yeah, we make progress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What did I do now? Okay. Then here, design document for NF topology. I think there is a proposal here. Implement NF topology controller. That's Steven. Cell for function input. We need to ask John, right?
Yeah, he's not.
Automate release process. So these are all Rado.
I think, yeah, I think those is, I think I could not talk to him this week. Either they are very close to done, all of them. Yeah.
Okay, OAI core.
Yeah.
So that we discussed. This one we will not do, right? In this case.
Yeah. 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 What do we, yeah. What do
I
you
mean,
think? Click on that epic. Let's see what's the story. What are the different types? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I mean, yeah, I'll let you talk to him on this.
yeah. So in order to do, if we want to do this, we have to do the changes also for free 5GC, basically.
Okay. Okay, probably we can say you're not doing it for now and we'll move to R3.
Yeah. Wait till R3 to accommodate the generic configuration, right?
Yeah.
Proposal. And then I need to move. Okay, I'll move it a bit.
Yeah, I can take care of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then to support Helm, I think we have done spy. Wait, so okay, yeah. Available SDK, including operator SDK. I don't think we made more progress because I think the meetings were cancelled. So I don't know where we. So here, yeah, we have to discuss with the SDK team. Spike the methodology to support Helm. So
I
here we
think
had this proposal.
we can move that to, I think we have a feeling, Fiacre, I think is on the call. I think we can move that to done. I think we discussed that a lot.
There is a design document, and I made some comments on that. So we have the design document came from Tal and a colleague of him, I think. So we should use that as a baseline, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have to reflect consultant. Yeah, so this I think this is, yeah. Ronak, I think it's on your end. So this is the one that we discussed. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we should not talk about these, I guess, right? To do. So let's move then towards the repo side. Is that okay? Anyone else has something? So, okay, what are all the repos? We have Nefio, so that we should not change. We have catalog. Catalog is.
Yeah, I think this is the new landing place for.
Yeah. Okay, so that we should not. API we should not. Test infra we should not, right? OAI we should not. Documents
we should not.
not. Nefio SDK. Nefio SDK should. Is there anything here?
No, nothing here. This one, but it's created with anticipation. Yeah, there's nothing there. Yeah, but something will come there with the Samsung's contribution will come there. Will land there once the PR is approved. If your example packages, yes, that's a candidate.
But this should be an experimental, not so. This is the main, right? We are discussing what should move to experimental.
Yes, yes. So if your example packages, I think that was one of the candidates.
But this should all move to the catalog, right?
I think so. I think they should all move to catalog, yeah.
Because these are the ones that we are all using for the test infra.
Yeah, yeah. I think not this. We can, not this. Yeah.
And these are all the ones that we use in the catalog, in the test infra. I don't think this one will move. Should move.
Governance.
What's in here?
PO packages.
Okay, this we should not move, right? Because this is kind of the charter, right?
Yeah.
So we should not move this. Nefio packages. This we can move, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's the origin. What we did originally, what John did originally. I don't know about web UI, but I think also there is a package for it. Is this Nefio UI? I think I'm
I
not
think
sure about.
actually, I'm just thinking since we also need John for this exercise, I believe, because some of
Yeah,
the
we
changes-
probably can ask.
Why
We
don't
can ask
why
him.
don't we wait? Yeah, why don't we wait for the next week for this one, Tal? Is that okay?
Yeah, but let's maybe just go through it once. One summit we can do, I guess, right?
Yes, obvious. Yeah, that is an obvious candidate. Yes.
Well,
We have
let's. There's nothing urgent. We can wait until everybody is here and decide.
I think there is. Yeah, the one summit is definitely a candidate. Tal. Other than that.
Yeah, and FEO POC and FEO POCs.
Yes.
And FEO controller POC. There are a few obvious ones, but let's wait for John and just we can decide that.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right. Do we have other topics? If not, we can give some time back.
Yeah, I think. I think next week, Wim, I think we may want to have an answer to take it to TSC. If at all, we need to give them some news.
Next week we have 2 meetings, right? So we should probably use the 2 meetings to go through it and get to the bottom of it and get a good sense of where we are. Because the week after, because this week there was supposed to be a TSC, but because of Thanksgiving, it's not happening, I guess.
So the next TSC meeting will be in 2 weeks, I think December 7th. So yeah, it's going to be a month between TSC meetings because of this week.
Right. Yeah, so that means that at the end of Thursday, we should have a good handle on and have a statement on what we say in the TSC. All right.
Yeah, and if we think we need time, we'll just email them, not wait for the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. But I think, yeah, so yeah, I hope that everybody can still, besides the celebration, do some work.
Yeah.
We finally have everything I sorted out how we want to accomplish stuff. Right? So, all right.
I'll point out very peripherally that for some people, Thanksgiving is a day of mourning, not a day of celebration, but we can leave it at that and just mention that it is time off from work.
For sure.
Yeah, it's funny how Black Friday made its way to this part of the world, but not Thanksgiving. So, the commercial part of it.
Without controversy, I can say that I can wish everybody a happy Black Friday to you and your family and your
enjoy the spam.
Any excuse to try and sell stuff. Okay.
Enjoy the spam, right?
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy the time
thanks, Wim.
Talk to you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye.